I think the world has simply been running way over its capacity. And the great luxury of the last 200 years of fossil fuels, coal and then oil and gas, have catapulted us far above our long-term ability to sustain. And the good news is it catapulted science and research as well as income and consumption. And we're going to have to rely enormously on research and our inventiveness to save our bacon. And I do believe there is a decent chance that it will. Quite a number of years ago, I got into studying the rise and fall of civilizations. And I always like to recommend Immoderate Greatness by Ophuls, Ophuls. He's done all the heavy lifting for us. He's, in a series of chapters, declined all the, condensed all the major reasons for civilizations failing in the past. And he's read everything. He knows it like the back of his hand. And it's like the Cliff Notes, very, very serious, well-written, quotable Cliff Notes on civilizations failing. And he gives 5 or 6 major reasons, which include overburdening the local environment, your soil, and your nature, and your water. Complexity, which is very energy intensive, and so on. And he concludes 2 things. One, that the current global civilization checks off every single one of them, which is rather creepy. And 2, that humans appear to be hardwired to self-destruct. And my take on that is that, like every other organism, we've spent a few million years fighting for survival, and we have learned to grab what we can when we can. And like other organisms, to grow, we propagate basically as much as we can for our first few million years. And we'll expand to fill the space available. And we are not programmed to think about long-term, slow-moving consequences. And so we don't. And we have to look at things today, like the president of Brazil encouraging the greatest deforestation in Brazil's history in the last 12 months, to everybody's shock. But we also have to live in a world where President Trump was doing his best to undo all the good that EPA and environmental movements had been trying to do. It's pretty bizarre to have a couple of serious countries attempting to ignore the greatest threat, perhaps for hundreds of years. And I believe that we do have some escape clauses from Mr. Ophuls' prediction of self-destruction. And that is twofold. One, unexpected by everybody, including Malthus in 1798, we are choosing, despite getting wealthier, we are choosing to have fewer children since 1961. It's a remarkably unexpected outcome. It was not predicted, as far as I'm aware, by anybody, let's say, as recently as 1950. And the degree and the speed with which fertility rates are contracting is not really appreciated by anybody, including the financial community. We are not only way down from replacement rate in every developed country except Israel, but we are, if anything, accelerating. And so in the US, we're at 1.65 versus 1.21, 1.2 for 2.1 children. We're at 1.65. And so way down, a quarter below what is necessary. And many countries in Europe, Italy, Hungary, are way below that. And of course, in the Far East, you culminate in South Korea, which has incidentally overtaken Japan in individual wealth, individual income, I should say. They have a fertility rate below 1. I mean, it's just inconceivable. And China, Japan, Taiwan are all down there at the 1.5 level. Quite remarkable. And this is not a sufficient condition to save our bacon, but it is a very necessary condition.